Hi guys, my name is Maria Park and this is Approach to Nerd. And in this episode, we are doing a spoiler review on one of my favorite animes and manga series of almost all time, Rurouni Kenshin. And actually, the live action rendition, Rurouni Kenshin The Final, which is currently playing on Netflix. Now, I have read every issue, all 28 volumes of this manga series. And Jinchu, which is the revenge arc, is one of my favorite arcs outside of the Kyoto story, which actually was in the previous live action movies of all time in the Kenshin universe. Even though right now I am reading Rurouni Kenshin Hokkaido, which is the sequel to the entire original manga series. And it is amazing. Jinchu just kind of is close to my heart because it ties Kenshin's past and his future together. So everything gets resolved in this arc, basically, and that's why I like it. Now, the movies, all of the live action movies that we've had for Rurouni Kenshin have been absolutely amazing. And I can say with full honesty that the Rurouni Kenshin live action renditions are probably the best adaptations of an anime to live action I've ever seen. And the choreography is amazing. The cinematography is amazing. I love the background music they have chosen, especially when, Kenshin and the others are fighting. I just love it. I love it. It's ethereal or ethereal. It's very beautiful. Now, the movie The Final, which is basically the entire saga of Kenshin and Anishi, who is the brother of Tomoe, who happened to be the first wife of Kenshin, that he accidentally stabs. Now, they have not released the beginning, so I don't want to break down the story of Tomoe because they haven't told it yet. And if you haven't watched the anime or read the manga, then I will be spoiling a lot about that. So they did show him killing her. The events leading up to that specific moment have not been broadcast or aired live action yet. That is the movie that's going to be released in Japan. I want to say this year, potentially in July. I may have my dates wrong. So we'll probably get it either next year or maybe in December of this year or something like that on Netflix, which would be awesome. But I will leave all of that, everything pertaining to Tomoe and Anishi in the past, their story with Kenshin, I will leave that alone. So I'm only talking about this movie specifically. Now, this movie, again, is very, very good. But sometimes I kind of felt like this movie, it was pretty much written as though you, the viewer, have already watched the anime or read the manga. So the pacing is great, but it kind of leaves details out that you would not actually know if you were not initially a Kenshin fan, which is kind of disappointing for me a little bit. Something else that I've noticed, there were a few things that kind of were either changed or left out of this movie. One is when Anishi kidnaps Karu, he takes her to an island. And what actually happens in the manga is that a puppet master named Gaim, he makes a replica doll of her using skin and like just different things that are just mechanical. It's a doll, it's a puppet. And he sits her against the wall and stabs her. And when Kenshin is running to save Karu, Anishi is taunting her, saying, cry and grieve, just die, basically, grieve till you die. He gets there and he sees Karu, against the wall dead, and he considers himself to be a failure because he couldn't save his first wife. And he basically, the girl that he's in love with now, the one that's the most important to him, has also been killed. And it sets Kenshin into this deep, dark depression where he changed his Sakabato and he goes to like this place where people just kind of sit around and die. It's like, it's very depressing. He's just sitting there completely unresponsive and he's cut himself off from his friends and the rest of the world. And that is exactly what Anishi wanted. Anishi wanted that to happen. And he took Karu to this island, which we do see in the movie. But right now, everyone thinks that she's dead. Another thing that's interesting is when Aoshi and Misao come to bring Tomoe's diary to Humura, and then, they learn what happens. They learn Karu is dead. So the scene where Misao gives the diary to Karu, that never happens because she is quote unquote dead by the time they get to, where they are in Tokyo. So Aoshi, being the very strategic and very smart and logical thinking person in this, starts putting some facts together, and he determines that he doesn't think that Karu is actually dead. There's actually a scene where he digs up the grave of Karu because they've already had the funeral. And even though everyone's freaking out, he reaches his hands and he pulls out, like all the stuffing and whatever, and all the wires or whatever that was inside of the puppet to determine that this was not the real Karu. And they completely left that out. They left out the battle between him and the puppet master at Karu's grave because Aoshi actually waits for him to get information to try and figure out where Nishi took Karu. We never got that. When Kenshin finally comes, basically accepts that he's going to go fight, because basically, Yaiko telling Kenshin that Karu was alive was completely ineffective because he was so into himself and his mind that he couldn't break free from the depression and the heartbreak. And he actually was talking to Tomoe in his subconscious. And it wasn't until they had this conversation and she basically said, there's someone you need to save, that he was able to come out of it and then accept that Karu was alive. And when he did that, not only did he go to rescue Karu, which by the way, they had to take a boat. Misao came, Megumi came, Sanosuke came, Yaiko came, Aoshi came. I mean, it was a full, main character event. Everybody was coming, and they were all fighting the commanders, these 6 commanders that Anishi had initially, waiting for them. And each one of the members, like Sano and Aoshi, had to fight these individual, commanders so that Kenshin could save his strength to fight Anishi. So we didn't get any of that. I looked at Aoshi in this movie and I'm like, he really went down so easily. Like all of the stuff that he did in this actual arc was not added in the movie. And he was highly, highly important to progressing Kenshin's plot in this arc in the manga. I don't know why that decision was made, but it's very interesting. And then having Sojiro Seta be the one that helps him when he's in the mansion, that's also interesting because we see him in Kyoto and he does start doing his own journey to find himself, a lot like, the traveling Rurouni, but we don't see Sojiro again until the sequel I'm currently reading, which is Hokkaido. So he was just like basically the Aoshi counterpart, I guess, in this, and I don't understand why. So that is something that I wanted to not really nitpick, but basically say, I wish they had been able to keep in, because all of the scenes that they have in are beautifully written, but it's like they just expect you to understand that these things are happening or that these things were not important enough to adapt into the story to progress it. They kind of set the entire story in Tokyo. Kenshin did not have to go far to go and find Karu. And, Yaiko never had a relationship with Tsubame, which is another thing that I thought was interesting. When the restaurant was, set on fire, which is Tai-san's restaurant, they make it seem like Tai and Tsubame didn't survive. If they didn't survive, or they're like extremely injured. But if Tsubame is dead, that's really bad because in the future, she is the girlfriend of young Yaiko, and Yaiko is basically the person that inherits the Sakamoto from Kenshin in the manga. And he becomes a very good fighter and actually is one of the headmasters of Kamayo Dojo. So yeah, I guess because they're not planning on making any other movies, the beginning is considered a prequel. This is the way they were going out. So they didn't have to have these continuations, but it's like these characters themselves have another story. Like we don't get to see Kenji, which is Karu and Kenshin's son, that they have in the future. We don't get to see Kenshin pass the sword to Yaiko. We don't get to see him move on with Tsubame and like have all these adventures and have all these new students that come into Kamayo Dojo and like all of these really interesting things that happen that make the sequel now very cool. It's not a thing. And it's to me, that's kind of a sad thing that we didn't get to have this in the movie. But again, not hating on it, it is still a very good movie. The cinematography, the choreography, the music, everything was absolutely amazing. I definitely enjoyed watching this movie. I would watch it a million times again. I've watched the first three movies in the Rurouni Kenshin line, and I will watch the beginning when it comes out. But I just had to point out that Jinchu feels a little bit different for me watching it in this director's choice because I've had the experience of reading the full manga, and so many good moments were completely left out. And then some were added, Misao joining the fight. Like she did a little bit in Jinchu in terms of being supportive to Aoshi. I believe there were missiles coming towards the boat, the boat they were on, and she was going to use her shurikens or to throw at them, and she was trying to judge the distance, and Aoshi had to correct her math so she could hit them to keep them from basically exploding. Stuff like that. Everybody had a role. Like Megumi was also brought in as, I'm going to say, a field medic when they were on the boat, and she wasn't even there when Kenshin went to go save Karu. I mean, honestly, we did see a little mini fight with Sano and Saito, who was also with them, and Misao, all doing their best to support Kenshin, with the commanders that were apparently left in the town. But we missed out on epic battles. I mean, these battles were epic. The way that I call them Team Kenshin came together to help save Karu from Anishi. And then actually the whole scenes with Anishi, we didn't get the scenes with Anishi and Karu because in the actual manga, Anishi was so amused by Karu that she was actually cooking dinner and stuff, and they actually had a really weird bond. Now I won't say it was Stockholm syndrome; it was more like he saw a sister type in Karu, and for Karu saw somebody who was just lonely and heartbroken over their sister, even though what he did is wrong. And we didn't get to see this relationship between Karu and Anishi. And so for me, seeing that in the manga, it made more sense when she jumps, in front of, they were actually, all of her friends were about to be shot instead of just, Anishi and Kenshin in the movie. It makes more sense why Anishi went and saved her because they already had established this relationship. But yet in the movie, really, he tried to choke her, and then the image of his sister not smiling and interfering and basically blowing on the little spinning thing, that's what kept him from killing her. And then there's just nothing else addressed. And so it's like, I don't know. I really wish they had kept the character building of Jinchu in this. But outside of that, again, guys, I really enjoyed this movie. And honestly, I would not hate for them to decide to do Hokkaido, because Hokkaido is it's very good so far. And Hokkaido has to do with Karu realizing that her father, that everyone thought was dead, was actually alive and well, and somewhere in Hokkaido. So they're off to figure out why the father never came home after the war and what that's about. And I'm completely okay with that because I'm enjoying it. And I think that the cast for Kenshin would be, for the live action, would be amazing in this cast, especially if they did it more accurately. But I guess really the only real tragedy for me out of everything is that Aoshi went down so easily, because Aoshi is Shinomori Aoshi is one of my favorite characters in Kenshin. And the fact that he just went down that easily just doesn't sit well with me. I mean, just to be clear, that's not something that Aoshi would be. He's a very strong fighter. Held his own against Kenshin, held his own against Shishio. And in the Jinchu arc, he was extremely badass. So I don't know why he was taken out so early in the game, but he was. And it's kind of sad. And we also didn't get the scene that I loved in the manga where him and Misao were going home to bury the rest of the Ano Banshu that got killed and right before the Kyoto arc, that caused him to be a villain for a short period of time. So the connections and like the sentimental moments like that were left completely out of this movie. And I just wish that it wasn't. I wish they would actually split this into two movies and then had the third one. I know they had a lot of problems because of COVID shooting, so maybe they had to scrap a lot of scenes with social distancing and things like that. But still, I really wish we had got some more of that. But It is what it is. It's still a great movie. I really think that if you haven't watched it, you are missing out. So please give it a chance. If you haven't seen the previous movies, also watch that. I know that they are on Prime for rent. I'm not sure where else you can view them. I own them, so it's a little bit different because I've had them for a while. But they are available for streaming on certain platforms, and Amazon Prime is one of them. So I would check that out if you wanted to watch that before you watch this one that is currently on Netflix. But yeah, Rurouni Kenshin, the final. Very, very good movie. I just wish it had a little bit more of the aspects in the manga that I loved. But I'm not gonna hate on it. I still give it an A plus, and it's still, in my opinion, one of the best movies adapted from an anime to date. And I will stand by that. But yeah, I want to know what you guys think. So please leave me a comment below and let me know. And if you would like to sign up for jury duty, hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to know who's next on their bell, hit the notification bell. Until next time, I can't wait for you to approach the nerd. Bye, guys.
Thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate it, but hey, the party doesn't have to stop now. Click on one of these videos and keep it going.